What's up, buddy? How you doing? Hope you're having a beautiful July 4th weekend, enjoying some sunshine. Get yourself a hot dog, slice of watermelon, enjoy some fireworks. And I'll tell you who's not going to be enjoying July 4th is all of the Hollywood studio executives who are watching as these giant franchise films crash and burn in spectacular fashion. Huge amounts of money are being lost right now. The entire Hollywood paradigm is being upended. I think we have seen this many blockbusters fail in this short a window of time. And if you think this is not going to cause some major shakeups in Hollywood, if you think this is not going to result in some huge changes, if you don't think a lot of people are getting fired over this, you're nuts. The blood is going to run rampant in the streets of Hollywood. A lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of projects are going to get canceled. We're entering a new era of Hollywood filmmaking because they don't want to keep losing money like this. And there are going to be some big changes. We're going to talk about what's going to happen. Please hit that button down there and subscribe. And let's talk about some movies. Guys, this weekend, Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. This is a big franchise for Disney. When they bought Lucasfilm for $2 billion, they went, well, not only do we get Star Wars, but we also get Indiana Jones, we get Willow, we get all this stuff. And all they've done ever since is destroy these franchises. Willow got a TV show that couldn't even last three months on streaming before they yanked it. Now we have Indiana Jones. Let's take a look at the box office. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny stumble with $60 million debut. This is from Variety, who says that's a decent amount of money for a tentpole aimed at older audiences. But with Indiana Jones being one of the most expensive movies ever, which I did not realize, how did that movie cost so much? Whole thing felt green screened, cost $295 million before marketing. It's going to take a heroic feat to make this film actually profitable. This is a huge disaster for Disney. Now remember, Disney was all about Indiana Jones. They even premiered it at the Cannes Film Festival, thinking, oh my God, we've really struck gold here. We got a great film. The critics are going to love it. The critics came out of the Cannes Film Festival and they said, it's not that great. And it kind of shot Disney in the foot. If anything, it's contributing, at least partially, to this horrible performance we're seeing at the box office. That people heard early on, a month in advance, it's not that good, skip it. Is that the actual reason why it's failing? That's part of it. There's some other reasons I want to talk about, and we're going to get into it. What's interesting is that, so 60 million domestic, 70 million for a start of 130 million this past weekend. That's actually worse than The Flash. Again, another huge disaster for Hollywood, which was globally hyped, has huge nostalgia factor with Michael Keaton Batman, has these beloved DC franchise characters, and yet even that could barely crawl up to 140 million globally. This is saying that Indiana Jones might actually lose more money than The Flash, which is crazy to me. The Flash was such an expensive movie with all the reshoots and the marketing and whatever else. This might actually lose Disney more money than The Flash. I thought we had only one big disaster to talk about. Now we got two of them. I mean, talking about The Flash, this is supposed to be one of the worst box office flops in Warner Brothers history, having not even gotten to 100 million over 2 weeks. Oh my God. I think right now it's tracking worse than Black Adam, which was a genuinely terrible film. But here's where this gets interesting, is that people who have seen the films, for the most part, don't actually hate them. Here we have the Rotten Tomatoes score, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Critics score 69%. Nice. That's not bad. That's very solid. But if we look at the audience score, that's a huge 88% audiences are coming out of this film. And they're saying, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I'm honestly one of them. I know there's a lot of guys on the internet right now who want to tell you, oh, it's an evil feminist plot to try and emasculate poor Indiana Jones. It's not. It's a fun little movie. There's definitely a lot of improvements I would have made, and it goes on way too long. There's no reason that movie needed to be 2.5 hours. The Flash is another movie which I also really liked. Again, little less from the critics, and I actually agree with this. I would say Indiana Jones is a more well put together movie than The Flash. I think The Flash is a lot more fun. I actually think I enjoyed The Flash more, but The Flash has a lot of weird issues, some weird CGI that I think scores it a little lower. But again, audiences are just saying a big 84% when they come out of there. The audiences are loving these movies. So based on word of mouth alone, you would think that the box office would pick up. You would think that people come out of the movie, their friends ask them, well, should I see Indiana Jones? Should I see The Flash? And based on word of mouth, they go, well, yeah, go check it out if you got a free weekend, if you can get a ticket. God, The Flash right now, they're doing buy one, get one free tickets for The Flash. That's how impossible it is to get people to see these movies. But why? Why? Now, there's a lot of competing arguments as to what has caused these huge franchise films to fail. Some of the arguments are good, some of them are bad. For instance, some people were saying, well, the reason The Flash is dead and not doing very well is that people are just tired of superhero movies. I kind of agree with that. I hear some of that, but we also have to factor in the fact that Spider-Verse is killing it. Now, is it different because Spider-Verse is an animated movie? Possibly, but let's be clear, this is past $600 million at the box office. This is a superhero movie. To say that it's superhero fatigue that's causing this, I'll say it's possible. The problem we've seen is that the last few Marvel movies have been clunkers. Thor, Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and the worst of all, Ant-Man 3. We also had Black Adam, which was terrible. There have been a lot of very bad superhero films that came out and did not do very well. It's possible that impacted The Flash. But why would that impact Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? What is this stumbling from? I feel like the reason Indiana Jones and The Flash are not making their money is connected to a more central issue that is not being acknowledged. And that issue is that right now, Hollywood has spent all this time, all right, their entire strategy has been, let's get people's nostalgia boners excited. Okay, we're going to take films, beloved franchise films from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and we're going to revitalize them for a new audience. Well, that made a lot of sense when you did, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. You went, oh, okay, Indiana Jones is back. Well, I was a kid. I grew up watching the Indiana Jones movies. I think I was something in my 20s when Crystal Skull hit. So I went, yeah, I want to see a new Indiana Jones adventure. That felt like something that, appealed to me as I was in the right age group for that revitalization. I had the nostalgia for the Indiana Jones character. Now, I still have the nostalgia for the Indiana Jones character, but let's clear, I'm in an older age bracket now. And the people who really grew up with the character, let's be real, I was a little too young for Indiana Jones. The people who really grew up with the character, he was there in their, childhood years, they're now in their 40s and 50s. And the most movie tickets you're going to sell is going to be the young guys. It's going to be the teenagers, 20 years old, 20-year-olds. Those are the people going to the movies. This is a theory that we're talking about over on Den of Geek, who says Indiana Jones 5 box office crash reveals a new danger for the Raiders of Nostalgia. As he says, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out 19 years after the previous Indiana Jones film, which was 1989's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So 20-year nostalgia jump, that seems fine. You're still going to grab a good amount of people. If you imagine someone who is 5 years old when this movie came out in 1989, let's say they're 8 years old when the movie came out. It's 19 years later. That means they'd be 27. You got a 27-year-old young buck. He wants to take his girlfriend or his fiance or whatever to the movies. The timeline makes sense. But now, let's be clear. It's been... So Crystal Skull came out in 2008. That means it's been another 15 years. You're now adding, 34 years past the original film. Again, if you were 8 years old when it came out, 34 years, you're asking 42-year-olds to get into the theater to go see the last hurrah of Indiana Jones. Because I talk to young people and I go, are you a big Indiana Jones fan? And they go, oh, it was a little before my time. I don't hear any of the young people out there talking about their love of Indiana Jones. It wasn't their generation. As this writer says, after the consecutive underperformances of Indiana 5 and The Flash, both of which were heavily marketed on this nostalgia, both Harrison Ford and the return of Michael Keaton as Batman, do younger audiences care about these old properties and iconographies of previous generations? I'll say this, I'm living proof that this is a problem, because for me, I have no real nostalgic connection to the 89 Batman. I have no nostalgic connection to Michael Keaton's Batman. My first Batman movie, if I remember correctly, was Batman Forever. Is that the one where Jim Carrey plays the Riddler? That's the Batman I saw in the theaters as a kid. I was in 1989. I was 2 years old. I never saw the Michael Keaton Batman in the theaters. I think maybe I watched it on TV with my dad, but I never felt a nostalgic connection to that character. So when you come out and you say, hey, it's the Flash, we brought back Michael Keaton Batman, that's going to work on guys a little older than me, guys, in their 40s and 50s, who that's a Batman they grew up with. For me, you got me into the Flash because I was like, well, it's the Flash. I like, superhero stuff. But for a lot of people, there's just nothing there for them. There's no pull. They don't care about the DC characters. They don't care about Michael Keaton Batman, especially young guys who, again, did not grow up with these characters. Maybe they grew up with Man of Steel, Superman. He's not even in the movie. So what are you going to pull them in with? You're not giving them anything. The youngest members of the audience who saw the original Indiana Jones film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, are pushing 50. Okay? You're asking 50-year-olds to be lured in by their childhood nostalgia for Indiana Jones and buy a movie ticket. It sounds great on paper, but those are the people who are going to sit at home. They got jobs. They got work to do. Okay, they're not running off to the movie theater. They're going to sit around and wait for it to come out on streaming. According to Deadline, 42% of Indiana Jones opening weekend audience was over the age of 45. 42%, that's crazy. For context, 48% of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 audience was under the age of 25. This is the audience you want. 61% of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse audience was between the ages of 18 and 34. These are young people. They have time. They have disposable income. They want to go to the movies. They'll even see the movie twice, 3 times. They got nothing to do other than drugs and video games. This is their only vice, is running around and watching stupid movies. Now, he makes a good point about Star Wars, where, the Star Wars movies do very well regardless and seem to bring in people, even though the movies are, technically from the 70s. But Star Wars is a very unique franchise. I remember the 90s revitalization of Star Wars, where even kids in my elementary school were talking about these 20-year-old Star Wars movies. That's an incredible franchise that seems to have transcended time and space. But when we're talking about Indiana Jones, when we're talking about Michael Keaton Batman, those were very specific films that hit at a very specific point in time. Those characters went away. They did not really endure in the hearts and minds of future generations. Yes, some kids have seen the Indiana Jones films. Kids have seen Batman 89, but it didn't have that same pull to the way that you're going to somehow get these guys in the audience, these young people, telling them, look, it's Michael Keaton Batman. Remember Michael Keaton Batman? They're like, oh yeah, that's that Batman movie my dad used to watch. Who cares? But here's what I'm going to say, and this is exciting in a way, guys, because we've been complaining endlessly about how Hollywood is out of ideas. They keep rebooting the same things over and over. Every couple years, we get a Transformers reboot. We get a G.I. Joe reboot. We get a Ghostbusters reboot. At a certain point, there's going to be no one left alive who cares about those original films. Even Ghostbusters, which is, a great film that stands the test of time. I think most young people now, the humor's a little dated. I don't think young people really grew up with Ghostbusters. How much more mileage can you get out of that franchise? You're going to start having some kids where the only Ghostbusters they know is that terrible 2016 one with all the women, okay? And how are you going to milk that nostalgia? Because no one has nostalgia for that part of the franchise. What I'm hoping is that Hollywood goes, okay, we can't just take these 30-year-old properties and revitalize them, because the only people who care are old people, and old people don't buy movie tickets. Don't make it sound like, I'm not being dismissive of, older guys out there. Again, I'm no young buck myself. But, I'm also the kind of guy, I only go to the movies because I can make stuff about it on my YouTube channel. If I had the option, I would just sit at home and wait for it to show up on streaming. The money in movies, it's a young people's game. You need to bring in young audiences. And young audiences, let's be real, not only do they not really care about Indiana Jones, but they definitely don't care about seeing an old, sad Indiana Jones, being miserable about how his life ended up and some other horrible, miserable things that happened to him that I will not talk about because of spoilers. This is not an exciting film. It's the end of a franchise. Kids are not going to get excited for this. Same with The Flash. It's the last time you're going to see Michael Keaton's Batman. What kid wants to go, oh, I get to see the end of something? No, they want to see something that's going to evolve and move on. And, again, it's also the end of that Zack Snyder verse. It's all just really kind of dark and depressing when you think about it. I would much rather see Across the Spider-Verse, which is clearly setting up all sorts of exciting new stuff, as opposed to these movies, which are, you know, closing the book on these characters and essentially killing them off forever. Again, I'm not saying Indiana Jones dies. I'm just saying you're never going to see him again. It's not going to go anywhere. You don't need to watch this one to get ready for the next one. This is it. This is the end. So at the end of the day, I'm hoping Hollywood learns a lesson. I hope we're done with all this nostalgia bait nonsense. They're going to keep doing it. We're still going to get endless franchise films. But I think they're going to stop, you know, pulling these people out of retirement, forcing them in front of a camera, and having them butcher their famous characters one last time. I think we're done with it. I hope we're done with it. Because, guys, again, these are huge box office disasters. Something needs to change. And I think a lot of heads are going to roll in the next couple weeks. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Is it the end of franchise nostalgia, or am I being too optimistic? Are they going to keep milking these franchises till the end of time? They'll stop if it's not making money. That's what I hope. I hope that they're losing so much money that they go, I guess we have to actually make cool, new, original movies for once. No, they're just going to start making video game movies. After Mario, now that we're just going to get a million video game movies. So we're screwed no matter what. Guys, don't forget, hit that button, subscribe to the channel, hit that like. And if you want to check out our Indiana Jones review, see what we thought about the movie, go check that out. It was a lot of fun. Me and Dick Masterson had a great sit-down discussion of that movie. And I think we learned a lot. And I hope you did too. Check it out. Take care of yourself and enjoy your 4th of July.